Hey everyone, it's Rita here. So I have just been to the markets and a few different nurseries, etc. this morning and yesterday to get some plants for a green wall that we're going to be making in our new location that we've got starting in a couple of months' time. So what I've done, I'll show you just here. I have a lot of devil's ivy, so that's these are a range of Pothos. That's the variety, I don't know, they're just coming different varieties. But I've also got different varieties of it. So I've got a marble queen, and we've got all these really long trails on it, okay? So I've got that one, I've got just a plain green one, then I've got a neon lime one, etc. Now what I need with my my green wall is to actually have a whole stack of plants there. So one of these plants cost me $15, okay? And so when I was choosing the plant, I had a look inside to make sure that I had multiple stems there so that when I want to use this plant, I can actually break it into making multiples, because this plant particularly grows really easily and quickly, and it's very easy to propagate, which means make new plants from. Isn't that cool? I like getting free stuff. So $15 for one of these plants is pretty good value just with getting that plant on its own. But I can make so many more plants from each of these plants here that I can start propagating them, getting some roots on them and putting them in soil so that then I can use them as well as plants. So you can have a look at the end of this one. I've just noticed here, the end here, they have, it's all tangled. There's so many plants around my house at the moment. Oh, it's all tangled. So on the end here, you can see that it has been cut off just here. But then we've also got new growth that's coming just in that spot there. So anytime you cut off in the right spot with a Pothos, and some of the other varieties, other plants that you can do it with, do the same thing, you'll start to get new growth coming out of there. So it can be a little bit nerve-wracking, go, am I going to cut that, am I going to kill the plant, etc. But I'm going to show you how simple it is. So I'll get, this one's probably got the longest one. I'll kind of sit it here. I'll try not to knock my box off. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for each leaf will have a section where these are really long, so you'll kind of get a node, or these are kind of air roots now as well. But if you look at one of the smaller plants, where's one that's a bit smaller? So on this one here, they'll often be this kind of length, so quite short like this. They can be a bit shorter, but each leaf will actually have one or two of these little nodes coming off them. And what we want to do is, it can be really scary the first time we do this. So this is like a meter long, okay? As I do this, I know that this plant is also going to thicken up as I do it, so it's good for the plant. I'm going to get my secateurs, and I'm going to cut this whole row off, okay? And then what I want to do is each one of these leaves, I'm just going to cut. I actually cut them a bit closer, like this. And then I'll try not to cut my fingers, and then just close like this. So what I've got is the leaf and these extra nodey root things. I'm just going to go along, sorry, lost some internet there, and cut along all of these and get myself a whole stack of individual plants with some roots on them. So I won't go through and do all of that right now. I'll go back and do that later. But then what do you do with that so it actually turns into a plant that you can plant? So these might actually do really well if you plant them straight into some soil. But what you want to do is start to give this a really good root system. So there's two ways to do that, and I'll show you the two that I have done. One is you can take this and just sit it in water. So that's what I've done here. So these have been in here for quite a while. So a couple of months, I would say, because they've just been sitting on my kitchen bench. And you can see that they're growing all these roots in here. So when you do it in water, the roots tend to be a little bit, and you can see it's grown from that node that was underneath there. So it's coming from underneath where that the leaf is. So if you do them in the water, the roots tend to be a little bit more delicate. So you might need to be gentle when you plant them into your soil and not compact them too much. They need to have a little bit of extra space there. So that is a few months of, they've just been on my kitchen bench. So these ones I would probably take maybe even all four of those, probably maybe two or three of them, put them in their own pot, and then they'll create their own plant from that. So that's what I can do with one lot. What I have found and heard and I've noticed is actually a lot quicker, is to use sphagnum moss. So that's this stuff. So I've got heaps of this because I use it for kokedamas. So sphagnum moss, and what I've done is I've got this see-through transparent container, and you can possibly see a lot of the condensation that's on here. It's almost like making its own greenhouse in here. And I have a selection of different plants. So this is a philodendron that has gone there. I've done the same kind of thing with. And so this is sphagnum moss that is attached to it, but the roots, can you see all these really long roots? They're actually going all the way right down to here, and they're branching off, and that's given a really good root system. So I'd be able to pop that into soil, and that would grow and make its own plant from that as well. So this is a pothos that I've done. So this is a marble queen pothos. So I've got a root coming off here as well. What you can do when you use your sphagnum moss, so see how it's kind of all, when you pull it up, the sphagnum moss is kind of attaching to it. If you don't want to have that on there, just get your scissors, because your sphagnum moss is kind of in really long bits. You just want to cut it. So use your scissors, and I didn't do this last time. Just give it a chop up so that it's not those really long bits. I might even put it in my Thermomix. But chop it up a bit like that, so it's going to be really little bits. And then take it, I haven't chopped it much, but that's the idea. Get some water, pour it into the sphagnum moss, allow it to soak some of that up, so I'll kind of absorb it into it. And then you want to squeeze it out. You don't want to have too much water in there because you don't want to rot the roots, but you want to have enough moisture that it's going to encourage the roots to grow. So this is, it's damp now. That is fine. You can actually use that. Then get your plants that you have cut off. So you've cut them to this section here, and you'll just lay it in a container like I had there, and just lay the sphagnum moss over the top of it. And then what will happen is these roots will start to grow out of those nodes. Okay, and so when you grow it within the sphagnum moss, it's actually a lot easier to put it straight into soil. Then those roots are a lot stronger. And I don't know whether you can, I'll see if I can get one that's got a longer root to look at. No. Anyway, that compared to, there they are, to these ones, you can't really see. I can see the difference. This is actually looking a lot thicker compared to that one. This has got a lot more coming off, but it's also been there a lot longer. This has been a few months. This has probably been, I think it's about 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, and it's got quite a lot of growth there. So that is what you can do to get yourself some free plants. So if you've seen that, I've just cutting 3 or 4 of those, that could make one plant that's going to be really bushy. So if you're wanting to have a really good coverage at the top, you want to have a few different stalks coming out there, or stems, so it'll give you a good coverage at the top. You can also trail your plant back through, and these roots that are here are going to go into the soil, and it'll start to have another section there. But each time you cut this, from this section here, I'd probably cut this right back up to where there's another leaf, is as you cut there, more leaves are going to grow, and this plant is going to continue to grow. So don't be worried about that. It's actually going to thicken up your plant and give you more plants, and you're going to have lots of plants, and it's going to be super cool, and you can give them to people because it's a great way to bless people. Like look, here's a free plant. You don't have to say it was free, but you can give people all this. So all these, you know, all this stuff, all this extra length in one of the plants that I bought today, this is going to make me, I'm probably going to get maybe, I'm going to have like 100 plants from the maybe 20 or so that I bought. It's probably more than 100. So you can get yourself some really good, this is a good plant to actually start with if you haven't used plants before. It's really low maintenance. Go for the actual devil's ivy, which is this one here that has the yellow variegation on it with the green. It tends to be the easiest one, or your marble as well is quite good. Avoid at the start doing the snow queen, which is this kind of white and green one, because it has a little bit of different care to it. It's a bit more delicate. So there's my suggestions to make yourself some free plants, and I got some work in front of me because I have a lot of plants to go and do. Anyway, I hope you have an awesome weekend. I'll speak to you later. Bye.